welcome to another Evolve Alliance Provider Member Showcase. Today, I am with Brant Dillon and we are going to be hearing all about the Legal Hub. Hello, Brant, and welcome.
Hi, Sue. How are you?
Fabulous, fabulous. I'm really looking forward to digging into the service offering that you provide, because I think it really is an incredibly important addition to advisors' value propositions. So if I had to describe the Legal Hub in a nutshell, would I be right in saying it is an awesome way for advisors to be able to deliver on the promise of helping clients get their legal affairs in order and organise their estate planning?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the hub. It's really where advisors can come to access a range of legal solutions. I mean, primarily the main focus is around estate planning and wills, powers of attorney, the review of SMSF, trust deeds, etc. We also do a lot of business succession planning. So for those advisors with SME clients, we do the whole gamut of, buy-sell agreements, shareholder agreements, etc. But we also can also facilitate other legal solutions, so binding financial agreements, asset protection, structuring advice. So absolutely, the only thing we don't do is we don't do crime.
Oh, well, that's good. Hopefully most advisors don't hang out in that space either.
Exactly right.
And look, I think this is such an incredibly important, we're so thrilled to have you as part of the Evolve Alliance, because it is an important part. And we know that so many advisors over the years, it's frustrating when they say every year, you really need to get your wills in order. You really need, and clients just go, yes, we know. And then the next year we're back again and, oh yeah, we've ticked that box to say you should do your wills and nothing happens. So I know a lot of our firms have found a massive difference in uptake from the client when they just remove any friction for the client and make it really easy. I think there's lots of fears for clients around going to a lawyer or, actually going and explaining their situation again. And for the advisor who knows the client really well, for them to be able to facilitate that conversation and instruct the lawyer and get it happening, it removes that fear that the advisor has of saying, well, I don't want to really go into territory. I don't want to be an estate planning specialist, and I don't have the legal background to be able to create the wills. I don't want to create a compliance nightmare. But there's absolutely an important role to play in creating that facilitation. And, you can add your fee on top of the solicitor's fees in order to deliver to the client an incredibly valuable outcome for them. And you get it done and you know that the affairs are in order and it's not going to come and bite you later. So I'm a massive advocate of what you do. And again, with advisors who write a lot of buy-sell insurance work, being able to access the service to be able to create those agreements and the documentation around the shareholding aspect of it, really powerful. Why don't we hear now from one of your advisors? Because with all of our provider members, a prerequisite to come on board is actually to be able to have at least two advisors to be able to say how amazing you are and the difference you've made to their business.
My name's Eleni Michael. I own Candor Wealth Advice, and we're a financial planning business. So we just provide financial advice to clients to help them achieve their goals. I use the Legal Hub in two ways, really. I use them to do pretty much almost exclusively the wills and estate planning for my clients. So I get them to do wills and enduring powers of attorneys. I pretty much use their online service. So they've got that online portal. So I'll have a meeting with a client and I'll go through all of their goals. And there's always, the estate planning and how they leave their assets is always a huge goal for them. So we sort of ask all the questions we need to, and then we put it all into a portal and send it off to Legal Hub, get a scope and quote from them, and then pretty much, a week after that, they've got these wills done. So it's a really, really good service, and I use that almost exclusively with my clients. On top of that, though, I also use their legal concierge service quite a bit. So I've got clients who sometimes they might have wills, but they don't actually know whether they're up to date, or they've got an enduring power of attorney, but it might not have all the clauses that it needs. Now, I might think that they need to be updated, but I can't give that advice. So the concierge service is excellent because I can email them a copy of what the clients already have, and really quickly the service comes back and tells me whether they need to be redone and where the shortfalls are. And by the time I take that back to the client, they love it. They, they've bought into updating them, and then we go ahead and use the service again. So many benefits. It just makes my life easy, I think, is the biggest thing. So all my clients need, everyone needs an up-to-date will and an up-to-date power of attorney. And there's often times when I still get surprised at how few people have them and how few people have the right ones. And I think part of it is you need these complex wills for most people. Anyone that's got a home and $1 million of assets, let's say, they really could do with making sure that their inheritance is protected. And they're usually and traditionally quite expensive wills to get put in place because they're complex and they've got to be right. This legal hub gives us it puts us in touch with law firms that will do this for us at really competitive prices. So that impediment of the cost that would have put people off because they probably didn't feel like they had enough, but we know that they needed a good quality will, that sort of held a lot of people up. Taking that impediment away gets everyone to go ahead pretty much straight away. So the cost of it is so low for the quality that you get, the consistency that you get with them. They are fast. Even though it's an online service, they put you in touch with the same people each and every time. So there's this consistency which gets real efficiency in my business. But on top of that, clients are getting the good quality wills that they ordinarily would not have gone ahead with. And they're getting them done so much faster than they expected. And they're as happy as Larry. Like, they're so happy when they get it done. They can't believe they took so long to get them done. And from our end, it's probably a week or a 2-week turnaround, and they've got these wills done from beginning to end. I think the biggest thing also is they're so generous with their time. I think that's probably one of the big things as well. So when you deal with lawyers, you're sort of on watch all the time for, you don't want to ask something that's going to cost you too much because it's going to be hours of their time. But somewhere along the line, you ask a question and it just gets thoroughly answered.
Well, there you go. No surprises that you've got some raving fans there, Brant. So why don't we get into a little bit more detail now, and you can actually talk us through the specifics of how you deliver this service.
Yeah, look, thanks, Sue. I mean, estate planning made easy is really what we've endeavoured to do. Essentially, the whole Legal Hub model is built around this concept of the facilitator. Really, anyone can facilitate, but in our experience, the advisor is best placed to facilitate for all the reasons that you've talked about before, their knowledge of the client, the processes that they already go through. We have really done a couple of things. Firstly, it's about connecting and coordinating leading advisors with specialist lawyers. So we've built the panel, we've vetted these lawyers, we've trained the lawyers. And when I say train them to how to deliver advice in a virtual way that actually engages the client, it's not some dry legal interview style delivery. And we've got this 5-step process, which I'll go through, which really underpins everything we do. And it's how we do what we do and keep the pricing where we keep it. We've kept it very cost effective and simple through a website, which I'll explain how you register. And the first step is a scope and quote, which is complimentary, and it allows the advisor to go back with a real value add to their clients. Here's the recommendation from a leading law firm. Here's a fixed quote as to what the price is going to be and what the next steps are. And that's all complimentary. So we will scope and quote as many clients as a practice wants to send to us. Doesn't matter their level of complexity, doesn't matter what other supporting material they want to send through, if they want us to look at SMSF deeds or trust deeds or existing wills or various agreements. That is all included. It's all complimentary as part of the scope and quote. And because we're using this virtual meeting technology, which again we have been for many, many years, and I think we've got a very good track record of delivering in this space. It just means that the advisor stays in control. They can host the meetings within their own practice, or they can dial in from anywhere, depending on where the client's located. Or If they don't feel that they need to sit in on that particular meeting, they don't have to. So it's not mandatory the advisor attends the advice meeting with the lawyer, but certainly, you know, for those advisors who want to be part of that process all the way through, and we would encourage that.
So can I just be clear, that advice meeting, so the advisor has got the scope and quote online and then sends the information through that they have on the client. Is that meeting itself uncovering the client's wishes, or is that presenting back the draft wills and talking them through it? How does the...
Yeah, so that's basically presenting back the draft documents and giving the advice around them. So where we start, for example, in the 5-step process is, firstly, the advisor completes a scope and quote request. Now, they can do that in a number of ways. They can do it via the website and do it online. There is a PDF that they can download if they don't want to do it online, and just complete the PDF and email that into us. Or if the advisor's already got their own data collection process in play, we're happy to receive the information that they already have on file. So we're not mandating that the advisor has to complete our online process. We also have plugins with other platforms like Astute Wheel, where the reports automatically can be sent to us. So we've made it as easy as we can to get the data from the advisor. We just need the data that we can then provide to the lawyers so they can do the review.
And can I just check the questions that obviously the advisor is asking of the client about what their wishes are and what they would like to have happen? Most advisors would be relatively comfortable, I think, with having those conversations, as long as they're aware of the specifics they need to get. Do you actually provide any training to the advisors, particularly if you've got some younger advisors coming through that may not have done it before?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a whole suite of training, both technical training and also training on the process and how to facilitate. I think, Sue, one of the offers we're making to your members, we've got an estate planning essentials program, which is basically 3 1.5-hour modules, recorded modules with very detailed technical papers accredited for 4 CPD points, and it would cover all the key elements that an advisor would need in terms of knowledge to deliver effective estate planning. So that's just an example. We're also providing a complimentary one-on-one practice coaching session where we'll help the advisor with their whole facilitation model, what fee arrangements that they may or may not have around in this space, and really help them to get to where they want to be with facilitating.
Fantastic. On behalf of the Evolve Alliance members, thank you for that. That's great.
Absolutely. With that first part of the process too, if they've got any documents that need to be looked at, again, as I said before, typically we'd want our lawyers to look at trust deeds, SMSF deeds, just to make sure that certain things like appoint all provisions are addressed and what have you. But we'll look at any of that supporting documentation as part of the scope and quote. The scope and quote step, this first step, really is probably only a 5 to 10 minute time commitment, because either they've already got the information on file that they're just sending to us, or one of the staff is just rekeying some data into our web form, and that's probably no more than about 5 to 10 minutes of data entry. So it's not a big time commitment to get the process underway.
Yeah. Okay.
When we get the scope and quote, we will obviously review it and vet it. If we think there is some additional information that we would require, or the lawyers would want to look at, we'll contact the practice and just ask them. So it may well be, hey, look, Sue, we noticed that this client actually has a family discretionary trust. If you'd like to get a soft copy of that and email it to us, we'll include that as part of the review. If the client doesn't have access to that, or we can still do the review, and we'll just make sure that in the scope and quote, it's known that that hasn't been looked at this stage of the process.
Wow.
Normally, we'll have a scope and quote back within 72 hours. We're probably getting them back within about 48 hours, but it's 48 to 72 hours. That's an email back to the practice. The letter, the scope and quote letter, is addressed to the advisor. It will obviously go through who the law firm is that has done the review. There'll be a link to that law firm's cost agreement, and then there'll be the recommendations. So what the law firm's recommending, for example, wills with testamentary trusts or multiple trusts or no trusts, powers of attorney. There may be a trust deed that variations required to address whatever issues, but that'll all be outlined in the scope and quote. Yeah. With also the scope and quote, there is a link to a recording that explains what's being recommended. So if we're recommending what we call our young and growing family solution, which is typically a will with a single testamentary trust, and that would cater for your wealth accumulator. So a couple with young children, there'll be a nice link to a recording that they can share with the client that explains how that works, what are the benefits, what are the taxation benefits, the asset protection.
Fantastic.
So it's all very easy for the advisor to explain to the client. And then there is a decision guide. So that is the additional information that the lawyers need to draft the documents for this online advice meeting. So the decision guide would be who will be your executors, your backups, guardians of children, and any specific objectives that you may have. Now, the reason, and this is why our model is quite different to some of the other offerings, we don't capture all that in the first step because we have learned that the harder you make the process at the start, the less likely the client is to even start the process. So we capture what we and the lawyers need to scope and quote it. Once the client is then committed and we remove some of that fear of the cost as well, we then get the additional information, which is not difficult. Most of it, the advisor will already have on file, or we can help get that information if the advisor would like us to go back to the client and help the client through that decision guide. Once we then, if you go to the third step, the confirm and accept, when we get the decision guide back, and typically it's back via an email, that is at the point where the engagement takes place. So the first two steps of the process are complementary. There is no obligation. The advisors, and we've got many practices that have embedded this scope and quote into their review process, where just from a compliance point of view, they're getting every existing client scoped and quoted so that at least the client, if they don't decide to get their estate planning in order, the advisor's made that offer and they've actually got something substantial.
And really given them the opportunity instead of just saying, hey, you should get your wills done.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, and look, and luckily we're happy to do these scope and quotes and do them as many as they want to send through, because actually our conversion rate is quite high, because as I said, I think we've made it simple and we've also got the pricing at a point where most clients are comfortable. So when we get back the decision guide with the information, the engagement takes place, we will then have the lawyers prepare the draft documents. Again, that's normally around 72 hours from the time we get the decision guide back. We will then send draft documents back to the advisor with some instructions as to what the next steps are. And basically that is, give us some times and dates that suit the clients for the online meeting, and we'll set that up and coordinate it. The online meetings are typically for around about an hour. As I said, they're between the lawyer, the clients, and in many cases, the advisor participates. Yeah. The lawyer will go through, have the documents on the screen, highlight the key sections. So it's a very interactive meeting that the lawyer has with the clients, answer questions, make final changes. There could be some last minute changes that the client wants to have done. And then the final documents are mailed either directly to the client, if that's what the advisor has requested, or back to the practice. The documents are exactly as you would expect from any leading law firm. They're hard documents, bound, letter of advice, signing instructions, a letter of wishes, and a reply paid envelope back to the law firm for safe custody. So essentially the clients get those documents ready to be signed and witnessed. They're told how they're to be signed and who can witness what documents. We then get them back. They're checked by the law firm to make sure that they've all been executed correctly and witnessed properly. They're then put into safe custody, and that's complimentary unless the advisor, or sorry, the client requests to have the documents sent back, but most clients are happy to have them held in safe custody. Mm-hmm. The clients will then get a certificate to say that the documents are with that law firm and in safe custody for future reference. The final step of the process is that the advisor will get soft copies of everything for their file, but most importantly, they get what we call an acknowledgement certificate. So the lawyers will send and address it to the advisor or the practice, a signed acknowledgement saying they, the lawyer, have provided the advice and documents. So from a compliance point of view, and this is very unique, lawyers don't normally provide this level of...
Yeah, I was thinking that.
It goes on file, and that's why all the major licensees that we deal with are very comfortable with our process, because we've ticked every compliance box. Yeah. And at that stage, we will send the invoice which will absolutely mirror what was quoted at the very first step of the process in the scope and quote. And the invoice can either be made out directly to the client, or it can be made to the practice. And that really is up to the practice, depending on, what they're doing around facilitation and fees. We're happy to guarantee this pricing because we know the advisor knows the client and they're sending us through the information. And at the end of the day, and it very rarely happens, but if something gets missed at our end, if we didn't ask the right question at the scope and quote end, that's on us.
Right.
We will wear that cost, and they'll never be passed back to the advisor or their client. But
Okay.
that's why we're just so confident in the process that we guarantee the pricing.
Yeah, that's great. And so is the pricing around sort of those corporate documents and shareholders agreements and so forth, is there as much clarity around that you can share?
Look, absolutely. So buy-sell agreements are 1,800 plus GST for a buy-sell agreement. A shareholder unit holders agreement is 2,000 plus GST. Now, again, that's the standard pricing. That's going to probably capture 80 to 90% of SMEs. There could be that 10% that have got a few things going on, that are a bit out there. But again, that will always get borne out as part of the scope and quote, and then we'll guarantee the pricing. But yeah, you're looking at 1,800 and 2,000 plus GST for those documents, and then if other work is requested, again, it'll just be scoped and quoted on a needs basis.
Right. All right. That's great. So in a nutshell, what I really love about your offering is, yes, indeed, you can help advisors to broaden their offering to actually ensure their clients get their wills done. And if they do work in that sort of buy, sell and client work, then, corporate work, then yes, you can help with those corporate documents as well. I do also love that you've got the client engagement piece. So the videos that you were talking about that the advisor can forward to the client that explains the different concepts, are they just in those bands of young blended families and so forth, or have you got explainer videos for all of the elements of estate planning sort of situations?
We're building up the library as we go.
Great. We didn't plan that question.
And we're always looking for suggestions, and which we can do these nice little recordings. But yes, so we've got an explainer video that the advisor can send or use with their client. Yes, around young and growing families, blended and grown families, the professional self-employed, around things like guardianship of children, how powers of attorney work. And then they also go into, for example, a will with a testamentary trust and one without a testamentary trust. But again, in plain, simple language, they're not designed at the advisor level, they're designed at the client level for the advisor to help educate the client.
Fantastic. And do you go into the medical, I'm just having a blank about the name of it.
Yeah, Advanced Health Directives.
Thank you, yes.
Yes, absolutely. So we will provide all that documentation. Again, that's interesting where that's really as much a medical. So those forms need to be taken to the client's GP, and it's quite an extensive process that they need to go through with their GP. But yes, we will provide all of that documentation for the client to enable them to go on and have that put in place with their doctors.
Excellent. And then, of course, you also have what we spoke about, that advisor education piece too, which, I mean, I remember years and years ago, I think it was MLC that engaged you. You delivered some really great training programs through there. So I can absolutely attest to the quality of that training for advisors. Out of interest, those advisor training modules, does that also go into things like the buy-sell agreements and those more corporate kind of legal aspects?
It does, absolutely. So we've got really good visual documents about how a buy sell works and how the insurance funding works within the buy sell, and yes, we've got a whole suite of stuff. And yeah, you're right with the training. There's a whole library there. I've probably, a bit like you, I've probably forgot most of the stuff that I've put together over the years. But
so much.
Yeah, I know. But the one good thing about this area is that not a lot has changed. So you can sort of dust it off the shelf and maybe tweak a couple of things here and there. But most of what we did, 10 years or 15 years ago is still very relevant today. And, one of the things we did a lot of was that engagement, using estate planning to engage clients around the family tree and the conversations you can have to really open the client up for a whole range of other areas of advice, but also leading into intergenerational referrals and a whole range of things.
Say that. It's a great reason to get to know the kids of your older clients and have those introductions, because we do know the statistics on the amount of wealth that changes hands of advisors upon death, because either the kids or the surviving spouse actually didn't connect with the advisor that well, and so that's when it transfers. So that's excellent that you're helping advisors focus on that. Well, that's great. Brant, is there anything we've missed? I feel like that's a really nice comprehensive overview.
No, look, just to finish up, Sue, we've got our legal concierge service. It's complimentary. It is there. It's a resource. It's there to help the advisor and the practice in any part of the process, and with technical assistance. So you might have questions that you need to source some information on. We'll get that back to you to go back to the client with, or there could be some instances where the client might be having some difficulties making a few decisions. We're happy to help with that. So whatever the advisor and their staff need, the legal concierge is there to help. And again, it's a complimentary service.
Excellent.
And yeah, look, I would just suggest that if the advisor wants to even put themselves through the scope and quote process, just to get a feel for how easy it is and the quality of information that you get back, by all means, go and do that.
Great idea.
We're happy to help you in terms of deciding what you facilitate, what parts of the process. And again, we've got that complimentary practice coaching session, which we can go through, and we're always available for you to contact us. And really all you need to do is you go to the website. It's very easy to register. You just need to set up a username and password. And once you're on the website, you'll find it pretty easy to navigate around, but you'll normally get a call from one of the team. As soon as you've registered, we'll be offering to do a quick tutorial with you, just to give you a private tour of the website. But other than that, that's not much else.
That's great. Yeah, fantastic. So all of the links are in the show notes to this session. Of course, for Evolve Alliance members, all you need to do is log into your portal, and you'll be able to get discount codes that you'll be able to utilize to avail yourselves of that special offer from the Legal Hub. And Brant, thank you so much for sharing all this information and having such a valuable service for advisors and their clients.
Thanks, Sue. We're really excited to be part of the program, and looking forward to working with you and the member network in the coming years.
Excellent. Cheers. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.